If you thought short term rentals in Charleston were a saturated play, this conversation will change your mind. Hi, I'm Paul Kelton. I'm a multifamily real estate broker and an operator here in Charleston, South Carolina. I also run GRID Charleston, a monthly real estate investor meetup as part of a global network of 30,000 members across 30 plus cities. Every month, we bring in someone who's actually in the market doing the work, no gurus, no theory, just operators and investors sharing what's actually working on the ground. Before we get into it, a quick thank you to the sponsors who make GRID Charleston possible every month: Tide Property Management Co., Coastal Equity Group, Matt O'Neill Real Estate, Sweetgrass Capital, Coastal Creative Media, Mitchum Law Firm, and Apollo Wealth. We couldn't do this without them. This month's guest was Dawson Luthman, founder of Luthman Luxury Estates. He and his wife, Claire, started managing short-term rentals in college and have grown to 20 properties over 4 years, completely organic, no outside capital, no big team. And he knows exactly what's working on the street here in Charleston, South Carolina. In this conversation, we get into which submarkets have real opportunity, how to evaluate a property before you buy it, what separates a 5-star listing from a 3-star one, and a tax loophole around short-term rentals that frankly blew the room away when it came up. If you're a Charleston investor or an out-of-state investor thinking about investing in short-term rentals in Charleston, South Carolina, or you've just been sitting on the sideline waiting for the right information, this one is worth your time. Let's get into it. Tonight's guest is Dawson Luthman. He is the founder of Luthman Luxury Estates. Dawson, he manages properties all over town. When we were building out this event, we thought, well, do we want to do more of an operator? Do we want to do more of someone who is like buying short-term rentals? But we ultimately decided their operator route because they could just get so much of a breadth of experience all over town, which is really what's important in the Charleston area. So that's why we brought out Dawson. Dawson has been doing this for 4 years. He's built his company from the ground up by himself and with his wife, Claire. And so tonight, we're not talking about theory. We're talking about actual operations on what does really well in Charleston. So let's bring up Dawson. Thanks for being here. All right. Well, Dawson, why don't you just take a moment, just kind of fill everybody in and tell everybody about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I've been doing short-term rentals now for 4 years. My wife and I we built the company ground up, started it in college, kind of on the cusp of ending college, looking at like the route of how to get out of the 9 to 5 game before we started it. So we started building in college, scaled it to 1 unit. We're like, whoa, might be doing something, but we weren't. And then we kept running that. We got about a year and a half in, we got up to 3 units. Like, all right, this had a little bit of merit to it. Over the last 2.5 years, we've grown up to 20 now. So organic boutique style rental management. But we cover everything A to Z. So turnkey properties, we can come in, furnish them, stage them. We can run a deal analysis before you even get into it. But yeah, we can take care of anything from start to finish. You're in good hands with us. So proud of what we've done, but there's a lot to talk about.
Why short-term rentals? Why is that interesting to you guys?
Personally, I think the returns are better if you're looking at it from an investor standpoint, but the overall experience I think is cooler too. A long-term rental is cool, but you turn it over in a lease and that's really it. And the short-term side, you can create an experience with it. So it's not so much as a rental as it is an activity or an experience or a family vacation. When people go on an Airbnb trip for their Christmas or their holiday or their summer break or whatever it is. And at that point, they're creating an experience with their family. They're having that memory. Some of them return and do it again. But it's all about creating that experience and that impact for them. So it's not just a vacation or a trip or whatever it may be or housing. It's more of an experience and an event.
Yeah, it reminds me of like hospitality almost,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
You want people to have a good time. You have a little bit more control over, how they have that experience. So
Yep.
that's super cool. I guess we're here to talk about short-term rentals in Charleston, South Carolina. So kind of give us the lay of the land. Short-term rental list or short-term rental investing, is it worth it in Charleston? If so, what areas are you seeing it do really well, or what areas are you seeing it not do so well?
For sure. Yeah. Investing in Charleston is always a great idea. It's a booming market, beach town, coastal tourism. Summertime's always here, about 10 months a year. So great market to be in. It's definitely busy. There's a lot of competition, but competition's good. Signals a healthy market. So that's always ideal. As far as part of town, I mean, you know as well as I do as an agent, that's bucket by bucket.
Yeah.
Careful where you walk. But there's a lot of regulations. Each area carries its own weight. There's some easier places to get into with less equity, less rules. There's some places that are more lucrative too. So it really depends on what you and your client are looking for as an investment and what experience you're looking to create as to where you would want to be. I mean, that's client by client based.
So when you talk about like, someone with maybe who's just getting started, they don't have a lot of equity or a lot of, cash to invest into their first property, where would you say is like somewhere that might still work?
For sure. There's a lot of avenues with that. One of the most obvious avenues is to house hack. You can buy a place and get it through a lot of restrictions by being owner occupied. That solves a lot of problems in the Charleston area. But if you're looking solely as an investor, little to slight equity, I'd say North Charleston and Hanahan are your two favorable options still to get in relatively cheap and affordable with still good returns.
And you can totally do short-term rentals in North Charleston and Hanahan.
Hanahan, yes. As of now, all you need is an active business license. North Charleston, yes, but it is subject to the area's district. So in 2025, I think it was, North Charleston broke into 10 different districts. Each district gets 60 permits. So there's 600 active permits across North Charleston. The more lucrative areas like the Park Circle area, the Wanda Woods neighborhood, districts 5, 8, and 10, those are full. But there's a lot of opportunity still to be had in North Charleston.
In like the areas that aren't full yet.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think there's 6 or 7 active districts that are still are not capped. So
Yeah.
there's plenty of activity to be had there.
I always thought Hanahan's like a sleepy town.
I would agree. I feel like recently it's been coming up on the map a lot more, but I think
Yeah.
it's one of the last of a dying breed in the Charleston area.
Yeah. I agree. There's like this is total side note, but I just read something. They're like redoing Hanahan's downtown
Mhm.
area. I don't know. Has anyone heard about that? We get a few head nods in the room. So I don't know. I feel like that's going to completely change that. Well, the whole streetscape right there immediately, but also there's a ton of single family and multifamily in that immediate vicinity.
I would agree.
But
So
and
there's a
you're
lot.
saying like there's no restrictions on short-term rentals in Hanahan right now.
Yep. I mean, obviously HOA covenants could change that, but as a
Sure.
citywide ordinance, there's nothing limiting what you can do with a rental nightly rate or nightly occupancy cap. So there's only a certain amount of people. But as far as resident based, there's no owner occupied restrictions or anything like that.
Wow. That's crazy. It's something that smells like opportunity to me. So walk me through, I know that because this is more of like a nightly rental, rate, walk me through what you see as the seasonal demand in Charleston.
For sure. Yeah. Well, obviously, summertime's good. Tourism is a big spike in demand. The wintertime is still strong. You have to price yourself right to get through those slower seasons. It doesn't mean that it's a dead time whatsoever. You just have to adjust your pricing accordingly. Like you said, it's a nightly rate rental. So as long as you bring that nightly rate to a point where you're still competitive with the market, but obviously covering your expenses, you can still do pretty well in the winter months. But like you said, it's a tourism based environment. So summer times are going to drive a premium. They're going to be a lot higher occupancy, a lot higher rates. And that's where you really see your ROI start coming into play. You see all the investment as a whole start to pay you back in those summer months. So you want to make sure you're operational in that window. I would say with that seasonality metric, you would want to try to do your repairs in the off season, just kind of like a tidbit tip. Since it's the off season winter months, you're not going to lose as much revenue and an opportunity cost as you would if you were to have to shut down in say July and take care of a major repair like flooring or HVAC or whatever it may be. So if you have a foreseen instance coming up, I would take care of that in the slow season if you can.
Yeah, you said when we were doing our intro call, you mentioned that, and I thought that was really insightful. Was to stack your repairs or stack your capital improvements in the off season months, so
Yeah.
you're not
Yeah,
messing.
you can once you get into it too, you can start to see kind of what's going to be a recurring annual expense and what's not.
Yeah,
So you can kind of plan around your calendar and your season and your year and make sure that your high occupancy and high revenue days are always open.
yeah, for sure. So we talked about North Charleston. We talked about Hanahan, right? Those are like entry level markets, or I don't know, maybe not, but I would say they're more entry level. Let's talk about like City of Charleston or the more higher price
Yep.
markets. What does that look like?
Yeah. So higher price markets, you're looking at Mount Pleasant, downtown Charleston, Isle of Palms. And again, they're all different beasts. Isle of Palms is kind of like Hanahan, but way different price wise. There's not anything determining owner occupancy. HOA covenants do, but as a citywide, there's no owner occupancy restriction in Isle of Palms. They do have it capped at 2 people per bedroom plus 2 additional people, capped at 12 people total.
Now, when you say owner occupancy, you mean like someone doesn't have to make it their primary residence in order to have a short term rental.
Correct. The owner occupancy is looked at like if you have a primary home and then an accessory dwelling unit, you could rent out
Yeah.
the ADU. But if there's no owner occupancy restriction, you could rent out that whole
So
property
in
as well.
effect, when you look at these regulations, you want to make sure that like just like an investor could buy it and
Yep.
never have to make it their primary residence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to cross check that because if you buy something that has to be owner occupied, that whole investor standpoint goes out the window pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah. So Isle of Palms is like Hanahan. There's no restrictions. Pretty much there's like occupancy restrictions, but
Yep.
as far as like nightly, there's no cap on.
And then Mount Pleasant is capped at, I think they statistically say it's 1% of the active housing market, but it comes out to about 400 to 450 active permits. That one, good luck getting into unless you can buy a property with a permit. I think they all have to transfer at this point. It's like a 40-year wait list or something crazy.
40-year wait list.
It's something absurd.
Sounds good.
So
Well, let's see.
that's a tough one to get into.
By the time I retire,
Yeah, that's a tough one to get into. But downtown Charleston has opportunity. Again, it's broken into 4 different layers, I guess you would call it. There's category 1, 2, and 3, and then the STR overlay. Categories 1, 2, and 3 will fall into that owner occupancy requirement automatically, unless you're zoned commercial, then you can maybe get a leniency pass. But the STR overlay is kind of where investors go to downtown. It's between, I think, President and Meeting, and then B Street and 17. But it's that little pocket there. Again, you're looking for commercially zoned properties in there, but they're a lot more abundant. That's kind of where the investors start to levitate to downtown. The city of Charleston jurisdiction's a little bit weird. It kind of branches out into different areas of, like, say, the peninsula. I think it even touches Daniel Island. I know it's in James Island for sure. So just because you're downtown doesn't mean that you're in the city's, or just because you're out of downtown doesn't mean you're out of the city's ordinance.
yeah.
But yeah, I'd say those are your higher priced markets with opportunity still, but they're going to cost you some money to get into.
What about like Folly Beach, Sullivan's Island?
Sullivan's Island, I don't know much about, to be honest with you. Folly Beach is a recent one that they just passed a cap. It used to be wide open too, but they just brought that down to an 800 permit active cap across the whole island. And I know that they're well past that. So that one's also on a wait list period. I know that they've had talks about potentially undoing it because they've saw a lot of negative impacts with their tourism, since there's not as many rentals there as there used to be. And so a lot of shops are closed in the off season now. I think it's the first year that they've had it. So it's all still kind of in testing. Folly Beach is a recent area where there's not much opportunity to be had anymore unless you can buy something with a transferable permit or in an LLC name and then buy it that way.
Yeah. One street, I just totally lost my train of thought. Well, okay. So talk to me about when you're looking at a property that has the potential to be a short-term rental. What are you looking at from the operator side? What makes this property a good short-term, or what makes it potential to have?
For sure. Layout's definitely a big factor. Open concept's good. You want people to be able to function within the home. Obviously, modern, nice walls, paint, trim, the whole 9 yards. You want it to look nice, hotel kind of style. As far as amenities go, you can create quite a bit amenity-wise. You can add a game room, a theme room. Really, the overall thing on an operational viewpoint, to come in and oversee somebody's property that's going to be successful, is just the overall layout and what they're willing to do with the space, rather than just looking at it as a conventional home and be like, all right, cool, bedroom goes here, living room goes here. Kind of playing with that space, creating an environment and a vibe.
Do you see like the game rooms and I've seen like little putt or whatever. Do you see that those drive a higher like nightly rate?
For sure. I wouldn't say they necessarily drive a higher rate. They definitely end up converting to a higher rate, but it's more of your conversion rate. So as you have those amenities and you have those clickbait pictures and people are coming in and they're like, oh, cool, I can play golf here. Then you start to get more bookings, you get more reviews, you get a better experience.
Gotcha.
And that's what drives that higher rate.
I see.
Necessarily having them doesn't directly drive that higher rate, but it's what you do with them.
Now, when you're looking at the competitive landscape of like the area, I guess, what are you looking for in the other rentals? So like, let's say I'm under contract, I'm an investor, I'm under contract to buy a property, right? What am I looking at as far as the competition goes in the area? What am I looking for?
Yeah, like I said, Charleston's a busy area. Competition's good. You want to look at you want to go on Airbnb, that's it, type in your address, it'll show a little map dot. And then you can see properties around you. You want to see 5 to 10 in an area like this in your immediate neighborhood that are active. And you want like 2 or 3 to be pretty comparable. And at that point, if those comparable properties are doing well, you have a good indicator that you're going to do well. But you also want to see like 3 properties that kind of suck, because you're like, all right, cool, I know I can beat those. And that's kind of like my baseline bar.
Yeah.
But now you know that you have a competition base of healthy listings, and that's going to drive you a little bit higher in the search results and success over time. It's kind of like investing in general. You don't want to be the first fish to jump in the pond and be like, I hope this area works. So you want to see a little bit of competition around you, but not too much. I think all competition's good, so I don't really think there's too much. It's just a matter of adjusting yourself appropriately.
Gotcha. So I guess so you see like the immediate ones. So in the comparable properties, you're like, do they have amenities, or what does their floor plan look like?
Yep.
And like, how is that driving their
Yep.
tenants
Yeah.
rate,
So you
right?
go in and you kind of click on those listings. You see, okay, this house is a 4-bed, 3-bath. Mine's a 4-bed, 3-bath. That's a good start. And you start clicking through it. You're like, oh, okay, their kitchen's nice, but mine's a little nicer. Their living room's better, but mine has this. And you start kind of piecing it together. And you're like, all right, they're here, but now I have putt-putt golf and a hot tub and a pool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I can be the number one person in this area. This property's going to do well. And you can kind of base your revenue based off of that. And then with that, going into that, I have a background calculator that I can plug in for any deal, purchase price, interest, expenses, and spit out the whole 9 yards. And it'll show you before you really jump into it if it's a healthy deal or not.
Sweet. And then what tools do you recommend people, when they're just like looking at the 10,000-foot view of the property, what tools do you recommend that they just get their general projections?
Yeah, for just projections in general, before you get into a deal, I recommend working with your agent and reaching out to a company like me that can do that deal assessment for you. Unless you're going to be a full-time investor, I don't see any need to go out and buy a software or do a deal analysis yourself unless you really know what the market's doing. Especially in a market like Charleston, it's so dynamic. Like I said earlier, there's parts of Charleston that aren't the nicest yet.
Yeah.
So just thinking that you have a good deal online and actually having a good deal in person are two different things. In terms of finding the deal and organizing the deal, I think reaching out to local contacts is the best thing to do. I wouldn't really advise a software or a tool.
Yeah. Because they have their own pitfalls.
Yeah. Yeah. The software is looking at general data of Charleston and it says, yeah, you should be good here, but it's
Yeah.
not, it doesn't know that Timmy down the street selling crap.
It's like when I
I mean, everybody's
Yeah.
got to hustle, but those are the things you got to take into account.
What do you think separates like getting 5 stars on a property or on your listing versus getting like 3 stars on your
For sure.
listing?
Initially, it's having those amenities in place, having a really nice listing, making sure that your pictures are good, but not too good. Then people have really high expectations. So you want to make sure that your pictures accurately portray your property, set clear
Mhm.
expectations before a guest gets there. So if you have a super nice house with janky parking, be like, hey, parking is this way, just so they know before they get there, setting those expectations clear. As your initial listing starts rolling, those will generate 5 stars. But as it's going, it's really a big thing, and I've come into it recently with a lot of my clients, is reinvesting in that property on simple things like towels, linens, fresh amenities, wall paint touch up, just the little stuff that keeps that house feeling clean and nice and showroom ready that doesn't cost any more than $100. But it's the little things that after 2 years, suitcase marks on the walls and dingy towels and all that stuff start to add up. And once a guest finds that first wrong thing, they find everything. And so they'll see those scuff marks and I'm like, oh, that's kind of gross. And they go wipe their face and I'm like, oh, that's nasty too. And it's just the simple things like that that you can easily fix for a couple $100 at a time. And it doesn't have to like break your bank. You don't have to build in a capex to take care of it all. But it's just the easy things over time that continue to have that property rent ready in showroom condition,
Yeah.
where you just naturally generate those 5-star experiences and feelings. A lot of the stuff in the short term space comes down to experiences. It's not as much as convenience and factor. As long as the people, I mean, obviously those are relative, but as long as they're in that home and they're having an enjoyable experience, I think that's where you start to get those 5 stars. And then a recent one, I know a lot of people are diving into AI and building out AI to do messaging and prompts and all that, which is great. But I like to maintain that personal touch because I feel like that's where you can resolve an issue with a personal ability. Instead of just fixing it and sending a plumber with an AI robot, you can send a gift, whether it be a bottle of wine or a card or whatever that says, hey, sorry, I'm glad we fixed it, but we know that we messed up. Here you go.
Yeah.
Just maintaining that personal touch to make it a true experience.
Yeah, I totally agree about that with AI. What do you see? Because obviously there's a lot that goes into this, right? Like all the management, you have to look at the experience of the person that's having, you have to be on top of it. You have to, send people out. What do you think is what makes it so that this isn't a great investment, I guess? Or what are the headaches on this side of the business?
The headaches for sure to make it not, I feel like I kind of get your question, but to make it not a good investment is whenever you try to do too much yourself as an investor rather than farming it out to people that know what they're doing. So if you were to have a property, you're trying to take care of all these guest interactions, you're setting pricing, you're organizing cleaners, you're taking care of the guest experiences, they have an issue, you're doing all that and you do it okay, but you don't do it well. You don't have the team to do it well. I think that's where people get into trouble pretty quickly. Is
Yeah.
that they think they can do it and they can do it. It's just that they're not doing it at the ability that's going to drive that successful long-term investment.
What have you found from your clients? Because I know you've worked with a few. Who are like the most successful ones? Like, what is your client profile? What you see? they do really well.
For sure. It's kind of what we talked about already. It's the repeated, easy upkeep and maintenance, the nice amenities, and it's just the honest foretelling of your property. I mean, if you have a weird caveat or an issue or a common pain point, disclosing that pre-booking or as they book with that booking confirmation message is really the key to driving home these successful properties. It's the properties where I have that they're like, yeah, this property is a B class rental, but we're going to market it as an A. Where
Yeah.
they start to get into trouble.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, let's turn it over to you guys. This event is all about you guys. So what we'll do is we'll turn it back to you guys for the next 10 minutes or so. Talk amongst yourselves, talk about takeaways, talk about questions that you have, and we'll bring it back up here. We'll do a live Q&A. All right. Would love to hear takeaways. Would love to hear questions. Would love to hear questions from you guys. So anyone in the back would like to go first? Go ahead.
Yep. Not a lawyer, so Lenny might be your guy. Some municipalities don't allow them to transfer, but I've heard of a couple people buying the LLC that owns that entity and has the permit. Question.
Would they be able to break that off if they sure? Yeah. I mean, are you saying this is LLC on multiple properties? Okay. Probably not. I mean, what we want is yeah, I know. Yeah, if this LLC owns multiple properties, then like agency LLC, and they own 3 different properties, then I don't think you'd be able to transfer that LLC once you buy all this property. Once you transfer, you keep the LLC with that property you want the permit in, and they transfer those other 2 properties out of that LLC.
What are the drawbacks of transferring the LLC versus just buying the property outright?
I think it's more benefits than drawbacks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, since it's not a fee transfer, it was HOA or anything like that, you don't have to pay all those transfer fees, and you don't have to pay deed stamps transferring the LLC is already set up, managing properties. It's a short-term rental.
Yeah.
And you could just keep all the short-term rentals booked and not have to worry about transferring.
To build off of that, that's one thing I like to do for my clients is I set that account up in their whatever it is, Airbnb account or VRBO, so that they retain that property. I know a lot of management companies will set it up under their account, and then people are kind of locked with them. I set that up so that it stays with the owner. So in that exact event, if they ever do sell that LLC, they can sell that login password too, and they can continue to run with it. So
And that has all the reviews and
Yep.
everything for the
Yeah.
property.
yeah, because the
That's a big deal.
second that I make that listing, I retain everything, and then you're kind of just stuck with me for as long as you work with me. And the second you break away, you have to restart whatever it is years
Just
of
restart
history.
everything.
So
Yeah.
to come with me is kind of like a no risk thing because you still retain everything on your end. And so in that exact situation, you can add value on a
Yeah.
deal by being able to retain years of rental history, trailing 12s, reviews, future bookings, the whole 9 yards.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I have a question about that. Airbnb doesn't like to really do that. Like when you transfer that username and password, the old host information is still on that profile.
Correct. Yeah. It's in that situation where you're buying the LLC. So you're buying that entire business to continue running it. So there's no actual transfer of logins or credentials or anything like that.
Oh, I see. You're not transferring the Airbnb account to guys.
Correct. Yeah, internal transfers between 2 parties are very difficult to almost impossible with Airbnb. But if you're buying that entire entity with login credentials, you're buying the business. So at that point, you can just start and run it from there.
Keep it going. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Learn something new. What else?
Not so much a question, but more of like a nudge. Could you share a little bit about the $200 a year kind of loophole for short-term rental?
For the tax savings side.
tax savings.
Yeah. So if it is, and again, I'm not an attorney or a CPA, but from my understanding, as long as you own that property yourself and it operates as a short-term rental, you qualify automatically through that loophole, as long as you're not providing hotel-like services, which again is subject to your CPA. But as long as you're not providing inter-stay cleans, bed and breakfasts, things of that nature. So as long as you don't have a buffet or active sheets or somebody on staff. So if it's a true standalone residential where you clean between guests, not as that guest is staying, I think that automatically falls under that STR loophole, and it kind of negates your self-employment tax on that property, to my understanding.
And you can perform like a cost segment study on the structure and obviously
Yep.
carry that over to your active income.
Yep.
Otherwise, you would need a professional license like that.
Yep. Correct. Yeah.
Oh, it makes you a real estate professional?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So then you can do cost seg and do bonus depreciation. And
And I think
Yeah.
the whole thing on that is technically as your guest is staying for that 24-hour windows, that's 24 active hours of work. So it's not like it's an 8-hour shift because that guest is there the whole time. You're working that whole time. So on a
okay.
3-day stay, that's 72 hours logged, and that's pretty close to your 200 already. I think
Oh,
it might be
crazy.
400 though.
Yeah, maybe 400 now.
But yeah,
Okay.
that's kind of like the workaround loophole to get
You have
to
a
that.
guest stay for 2 weeks and you're
You're
automatically
good. Yeah.
qualify.
As long as you qualify for that real estate professional title, whatever the IRS defines that as, you fall into that operating active income and you get rid of that self-employment tax.
Wow. That's
a good
crazy.
question.
And it's any like price short-term rental. You could get like a
Yeah, so like my house,
$225,000 short-term rental, and then you're a real estate professional. Basically.
yeah. So I just filed my taxes. My house that I personally own, it's a duplex. So I live in one side, rent out the other. That Airbnb side is entirely self-employment tax free. I don't pay self-employment tax on that income, but everything that I manage is subject to self-employment tax.
Wow.
Because I'm providing a service to manage, but that isn't seen as a service. That's just an active income stream.
Yeah.
And then with that, like you said, the cost seg offsets your W-2. So if you're in the corporate world with a big salary, you can offset a lot of that income too to save on income tax, state tax, federal tax, the whole 9 yards.
This is a major unlock. This is crazy.
Yep.
It's pretty good if it's in.
And especially on the cost seg part too, you can write a lot of stuff off in year one. Yeah, that's a good question.
Killer. Thanks, Connor. What are some other questions we have?
You have some units up in, excuse me, up in Hanahan.
Yeah.
What kind of guests do you get up there?
It's a lot of,
Tourists.
yeah, we get a lot of tourists actually. I actually have a property up near Goose Creek and that's entirely tourists. But we get a lot of people coming in for like a family wedding, business travel. Recently, there's been a lot of people working at the airport on that reconstruction rebuild. So a lot of that. But yeah, I'd say the general majority, probably 80% is tourism still.
I just wanted to tell you to explain the Goose Creek property because I think that's so interesting. I think a lot of people say like, oh, North Charleston might not rent out as much, or like Goose Creek might not be a great market downtown and homes. But if you want to like,
yeah, and that property falls more into the experience portion that I've been trying to drive home. The owner of that property is amazing. She takes care of so much stuff, but she's developed this property to be like its own little resort. It has a pool. It's a large home, 2 living rooms, 4 big bathrooms, 2 primaries. Overall, it's a massive house. But with that, the amenities that are in there are super nice. The pool's a great function. The owner takes care of a lot of things. And so even though it's 45, 50 minutes from Charleston on a good day, the resort style atmosphere and the environment and the experience that house creates and people can enjoy while they're there is still superior to most things that you can find downtown in terms of an income stream. I think year to date, that property's done $120,000 in gross revenue and it's only April.
Well,
She has some future bookings.
it's only April.
She does have some future bookings. I mean,
That's
her
crazy.
year's probably 50% booked. But yeah, that property kills it. So just because you're far away from Charleston, it doesn't mean that you're out of the question of making good money.
Is that property like an HOA or something?
No,
or
it's a
just
standalone
all on its
residential?
own? That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
really
she's
cool.
pushing $1,000 a day up near Goose Creek with a very nice home. So just
Yeah.
because you're not in the location doesn't mean that you can't make money.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, hold up on the TV. Text me your number. I'll send you the link.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. I can talk to somebody who mentioned.
I mean, even our property on James Island's a 1-bed, 1-bath, mother-in-law studio duplex kind of style. So we're just renting out that 1-bed, 1-bath studio, and we've done over 75,000 back-to-back years in gross revenue just off a 1-bed, 1-bath. Yeah, so I use a PMS Hostaway that links everything together. So if a client comes into me, they can get access to my PMS where I can push a listing to Airbnb, VRBO, Expedia, Trivago, Google. There's a couple other ones, but moral of the story is I can create one internal listing, set up an account for you on those websites, and with the click of a button, I can push it out everywhere. So that's getting multiple marketing materials out to different platforms. I know different categories of individuals, whether it be age, race, location, whatever it may be, book certain platforms for certain reasons. So a lot of my older guests book on VRBO, a lot of my younger guests book on Airbnb. So it's hitting those demographics and the marketing standpoint, which is nice too. And it keeps everything cohesive and working together. So if I change something on Airbnb, VRBO doesn't say something different, and I get confused on what's going on. So it keeps everything together that way. Pricing, I use Price Labs. It's a very nice dynamic pricing strategy. So I look at demand, occupancy, time of year, how much you're booked, a whole array of factors, and determine your nightly rate. It adjusts. They just came up with a new one. I think it adjusts every hour now. I don't pay for that, but it adjusts every day. So every day it'll look at your whole portfolio or calendar for that property, calculate the rate that it thinks it should be, gives you a marketable rate, helps greatly with revenue. Overall cleaning, I use a few different cleaning softwares just to sync calendars and keep my crew in line with the checklist. Other than that, I mean, it's one of those businesses where you can software yourself to death. Like there's a lot of stuff out there where you can just be like, oh, that sounds good, I need that. But really, as long as you have something to keep you operationally sound with multiple platforms like Airbnb, VRBO, something like that to keep you synced, pricing and cleaners, those are the main ones. there's other stuff for like noise detection, security cameras, and all that stuff, which is great. I mean, get them, but you can also just monitor those apps, and you're fine that way. Like I use Amazon Blink cameras, which aren't the greatest cameras in the world, but they serve their purpose. I'm not guarding Fort Knox, but it is a nice asset. So I have the
Yeah.
cameras pointed in all the nice areas within my account. I can sync everything to that my account, and I can see all my properties at any time with any active feed, and it records it all there. So that one I'm just paying for the software subscription for the actual camera. But I mean,
Yeah.
there's ADT stuff like that where you can go and do all that. But yeah, as long as you have pricing, cleaning, and overall operations, I think you're good software wise.
I know you send clients emails, reports.
Yep, yeah. So once you come into me, you have an automatic monthly earnings report. It'll show any expenses, revenue, where the booking came from, how many nights, guest name, link to their reservation details. So you have everything that I'll see in a nice little Excel spreadsheet without the headache. Yeah, Airbnb dominates the space by a landslide. Their technology, their systems, their operations, their customer support is tremendously better than all the other platforms. I'd say 95% comes Airbnb, probably 5% comes from VRBO, direct bookings,
Wow.
whatever else it may be. Airbnb kills the marketplace. I mean, at the end of the day, like if you're going to be a self-operator, just go list it on Airbnb and save yourself the headache and you'll succeed. But if you really want like the full-blown investment property, full push everywhere, then I would recommend the other sites, but Airbnb generates most of the volume. So that's a lot of location-based stuff too. So I mean, you don't obviously want to put something that doesn't belong, like you don't want a rock climbing wall in a one-bedroom house. And you just kind of look at it and assess it. It's something that we've been in the business for the past couple of years, so we can see what works in what areas. There's certain neighborhoods and locations in the Charleston area where certain things do a little bit better. So don't have a great this is the answer for that one, but it's a lot of just knowledge, trial and error.
Like a 3-bed, 1 bath.
I would fully agree with that. It's like the North Charleston one that does very well. It's a 4, 3.5. So there's plenty of space for everybody. The one that I have a little bit of struggle with is a 3-1. Same pool, same size. It's a little bit smaller. It's obviously missing 2 bathrooms, but it fights for its life to succeed just because of that 1 bathroom with 6 to 8 guests is very hard for functionality.
Yeah. So
What does your owner mix look like as far as and sole investors that purchase a property just to STR versus owners that are coming to the property and stay in, 2-3 months out of the year?
Yeah, so we have a little bit of mix of both, and that's something that's nice with us. We can kind of a la carte it to whatever that client needs. So if it's somebody that wants a secondary vacation home, they want to bring their family down here for 6 months at a time and stay, cool, have at it. But at the same time, I have people in Canada that come down once a month probably, which is great. I have another guy in San Francisco that's literally never been to the property. He did a 1031, bought it sight unseen, never spent a single second within 100 miles of this place. And that's completely fine too. I mean, it really just depends on what the client needs, but we can form to anything.
surely not, right?
No, all my clients are great. The recordings are. But no, I've definitely had some that are a pain. They're battle between setting realistic expectations. I know that people own an asset and they want this grand vision in their head, and it's just a property that's never going to do that. So it's being transparent up front with that. Setting a clear path for a progression plan. I know a lot of people will look at comps, and that's a big thing too. When you're looking at comps, you'll see a property and you're like, all right, cool, this property is doing $1,000 a night, but it also has 300 reviews. You're a little bit away from that. So whenever you start out, you're going to be looking at probably 600 a night. It's building out that progression plan for them to be like, all right, this is our starting point. Give us a year of good track record and we'll be here. But I know a lot of internal struggles with owner expectations and realistic growth path have come just from not clearly communicating. As far as that goes, I'd say everybody is genuinely a good client that I have. I do a lot of background screening before I work with you. But yeah, there's definitely some that are a pain. There's people that change some things you don't see eye to eye. There's ways to part paths politely. I always think that it's a good way to never burn a bridge. You never know when you're gonna have to come back across it. But when things do end, set them up for success. Let them know how you've done things. Help them transition to the next manager, whatever it may be. But as far as letting them go, even if like a deal doesn't work out for me, I'll make sure that the next person that you have, or if you're taking it over, you know what tools to use, you know how to use them, you know where the automations are coming into at, you know where your money's going, all that stuff. So I'm not just going to hang you high and dry if things don't work out. But at the same time, we like to set everything up and be relational based. And that's part of being a boutique style company. I mean, we could grow and I can push ads and market to 100, 200, 300 units, but I don't want to do that. I like to keep the personal touch. I like to keep the relations. I like to keep everybody on board to prevent those disembarking the ship moments.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, I think that's a great way to wrap it up. So thank you so much. Can we give him a round of applause? Dawson, you've been great. You've shared a lot of gold nuggets. I've learned a lot tonight. How can we as a community support you?
For sure. Yeah. I'm looking to grow, organically grow. I don't want to turn into a big Fortune 500 company. Like I said, I like to keep that boutique style. If you have an investor, even just looking for a deal, send them my way. I have a free deal analysis calculator that I can just send to you and you can share with your client. In the event that they want to work with me, great. Give them my number and we'll talk.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. And I think there's cards on all the tables.
Yeah, she told me to tell you guys that, but I
So
forgot.
Dawson's agreed to stick around for a little bit if you guys want to talk or have any additional questions. So next month we have a real estate wealth advisor coming. He has his own personal portfolio, and he's going to talk about 5 different ways to creatively get your next deal done, doing like self-directed IRAs and stuff like that. So I'm super excited for that event. We have Deals, Donuts, and Coffee on May 1st. It's at Bloom Coffee Shop downtown. It's a much more chill, like kind of get to know everyone event. It's a great event to come to. And then, our next one will be on the 3rd Tuesday of May. So I look forward to seeing you guys there. Please stick around. We got pizza. We've got drinks. You guys are welcome here.
I do have one more thing. My wife told me to tell you guys, and she kind of told you. On the back of those cards is a QR code. If you scan it, it'll bring you to my website. Within that is a rental revenue request. If you fill out the property address, what your client's looking for, down payment, interest rate, kind of their general terms of the purchase, that allows me to enter the data and give you an accurate result on kind of what that projected property revenue will be. But yeah, back of the card, QR code, scan it, and send me any property questions you have.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.